interesting anyway.
Yeah, it is.
And this is a good time to do it before you get into the extra homework and stuff.
Yeah. After year 10, yeah, it's pretty heavy, doesn't it? Yeah, we've had a lot of, I think you're the first male we've had. We've had a lot of girls doing Edinburgh. So, but not recently, I'm just saying. No, it's been a while.
12 months or so since we've had it.
It seems like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Lucy did come in one day, the last little girl we had. I always say little girl, I was expecting little boy. A bit taller than what I was expecting. But Lucy, the last time she came in, I didn't recognise her because she'd grown, grown so quickly. So got tall because she was quite petite. She sort of looked at me and I looked at her and then, oh, it's Lucy.
But this is a good library. I mean, are you a member here? Have you ever been?
I've been here quite a bit, but I don't know. I think my mum or sister.
Yeah. Because it is good. It's got beautiful children's books.
Yeah.
And it's got, anything you want to read in mystery or adult fiction, it's all there. They get all the new books, which is good.
In a very good location as well.
And it's nice to think this little building, which was the first school here, is still being used for something, I mean, it's a wonder it can turn into a coffee shop.
Yeah, they wanted to do that a few years ago.
Well,
everybody signed petitions. And overrode wasn't the council, I think it was the education department, whoever owns the building.
Yeah, it was it's a very good library in that it's a long way to Manly, really, if you just want to get a book if you live around here.
Yeah, and everybody who comes here that belongs to Manly say, oh, we'd much rather come here because there's not so many people.
No, that's right. That's not bad. Are you a keen reader? Or?
Yeah, I really like more into sort of musicians.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix and all that.
Yeah,
I really
that
love
stuff.
those books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we've got a few biographies along there.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look.
Yes, have a, go and have a look if you feel like it.
Yeah.
And see what's here.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're having a look, you'll find that there's one of the new books that should be over there on these shelves. People put them away incorrectly. But it's pretty good.
So did you walk down or did you get a lift down?
I got a lift down because we didn't want to be late and Dad just going to physio. So, but I think I'll walk home.
Well, we hope it doesn't rain on you. It's looking
Well,
not too bad.
if it's not busy, we might even let you go early.
So we don't usually go out boredom on the first day.
Just have you sitting here doing nothing. Just say, oh, you can go. But then when the time comes and we have to fill it in, we do treat it a little bit and say you've been here.
Yes, I don't think you'll ever be overworked. I think so.
That's good, nice, peaceful environment.
Oh, useful. Sometimes it's not so peaceful because we get a lot of little children and that can be havoc. We've had a couple of children already.
But we've got a lot of good fantasy books, the books that teenagers like. We don't get a lot of teenagers anymore because they all go on the internet or they've got good libraries at school.
Yes, action.
Yeah.
Hello. You've got some books for me?
No, we didn't.
Oh, you haven't got any in there. You're not bringing any back.
Shy little girl.
Posters are nice.
That's what it used to be like.
Yeah.
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 beginning of the split bridge. I remember when this corner was like that. I don't remember that.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
That's good. Now wait there. Chelsea, you need to get 2 readers. You can get 2 readers and 2 other books. Okay?
Got to get past.
Yeah, that book. Yes, darling. That's right.
What's the surname?
Harper.
Harper?
Yeah.
And,
All 3 are members.
Oh.
Chelsea, Jessica and Lucy.
okay, thank you. Harper, yes, that's a good name, isn't it?
Now, let's have a look at these.
Well, I said if you like to go with Harper, she can show you. Maybe you can get you could put the cards away. Let's go around.
Sure. You want to read that one at home?
If you need a copy of the card.
Yep.
Are these all the members?
Yeah, that's all the adult members, this is all the children.
How long does it take to go back there?
Well, I'm not sure when yeah, oh, it's been here a long time.
Wow.
I'm not exactly sure when.
So Chelsea, you want to get these 2? Is that right?
But a lot of the children, they never dated, so the child could be 20 but he's still in here. Yes, I mean, some of them is that if I think somebody dies, maybe goes up.
Right.
What does that mean? More cards?
Whoa.
Well,
Wombat stew.
yes, but really,
Okay.
arrange for this, you can take 4 orders at a time, and you can have them really for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and we're going to do lots of reading today.
At the park.
But they don't anymore, because you hadn't bought back for 3 months, so it's
Okay, Wesley, you can choose 2.
Keep track of the things
Okay.
that happen.
Oh, yes.
So you have to
Yeah, well, no, out the front there, when they take the books out, they're sorted into.
Yeah, on the special day, we've actually got that one at
Dad,
home.
these two.
We've got that one at home, darling boy.
These two.
Why, but the May ones are still haven't come back, so.
Which one would you like?
Okay, that's what we can do
These
there.
2.
Yeah, we've got them at home.
Let me just chat a little time.
Yeah, I want.
Yeah, darling, we've got both these books at home. Elmer's with Wilbur and Elmer's Special Day.
Can we get these two instead?
I'm just going to say.
Can we get them right now?
I don't quite know what's happened, but Wesley has 8 cards. He's got 8 cards. Chelsea, Jessica.
He's got 8.
8 cards, I don't know
How on earth did that happen?
I don't know. Perhaps they
Anything can happen with that little boy.
well, it's not his fault, he didn't do them. But
Well,
they could have been sorted in somebody's
Ah,
done some other
okay.
ones or something. I found some very strange sortings out there this morning.
Okay.
Actually, one of them was Harper too. Oh, was it? It was in the wrong place, yeah.
Notice now you're finding Harper as a girl's Christian name.
Yes, that's right.
That's because of,
Wasn't it that book?
yeah, to catch
Kill a Mockingbird.
Kill a Mockingbird. To kill a Mockingbird.
She was a Harper.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take these down. Take these.
Okay.
Really? Just one for Wesley.
Two.
No, 3 I think he's got.
Oh, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
Who's they come under?
That is one. Okay.
Good boy.
you. Three. Okay.
Now, that's another one.
There we go.
We've done that one day, it's alright, Dan.
Oh, that's a favorite.
Which one did you
That
just
one?
borrow?
Oh, yeah, we've done those.
Yes, there are.
They've got to go in the bag.
Yeah, we've got enough now, Wes. Thanks, darling boy. Let's pop these back. Wesley, pop these back, mate. Yeah. Thank you. We'll just stack them up. Let's count them. Make sure we've got. There should be, I think, 11. Is that right?
That's three. That one. That was that one.
Good girl.
I
Wow.
know this one.
Daddy.
No tribute in them, I think.
Thanks, darling.
So there we are. So you're all set.
Daddy.
The Harper family set.
We are.
Have you got a leg?
We can go and do some good reading. It'll be good if it rains, then I'll have something to read.
That's
Well, it
right.
won't be good if it rains, but they'll at least have something to read.
That's right.
I think we've had enough rain.
Thanks, Wes. 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Thanks, darling boy. You're doing. Just give me help.
We've read this one before. Daddy here.
Yeah.
You're
You're
not getting all the
cheeky.
books.
Are you cheeky? Are you cheeky?
Yes.
Off those. Wesley, that's enough now, darling. You go, you scooter.
See that?
Do you want
What do
another
you say?
break? Got plenty.
Oh, I think we'll be okay.
You sure?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, though.
Thank you, Dan.
Lovely.
Okay.
Have
See
a
you
great
then.
day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, well, look right then.
Oh, it
Might
swells.
be such a quiet day
Yeah,
after all.
it swells that how many we've done, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know why we worry because we don't get paid, but you like to think that you've done a bit.
We
on
like
the
to be
day.
busy. Yeah.
Good though, family of three can take out what?
Four.
Well, they
Each
could have
child.
taken out 12 books.
12 books.
I mean, with Wesley's extra 4, they could have taken out 60. That's strange. What we do is we sort them all by book number and they go in for coming back on the 23rd. So when you're looking for them, they're in order so you can find them quickly.
This is the old-fashioned method.
It
This
takes
is the way it used to be
No
100 years ago.
Yeah.
And see, we don't move with the times. Not like at the big library, you know,
Where
where
they
they
have
just
computers and
computers
it's much
and
easier.
swipe them.
Well, most of the people here are fairly elderly that do it, so we probably wouldn't do too
I know
good with
one of
computers.
the, when something was on one day, one Saturday morning, when they were dedicating next door, when the building there was finished, all the council people were here. And one of the, I can't remember what she was, but something to do with the council. She came in and she said, oh, look at the card system. Oh, look, I've got to take a photo. She ran and got her camera and took a photo of the card system. She'd never seen it before. Oh, it made me feel old that day.
It's a nice system though.
Well, we can put our hands on every book,
Yeah.
as long as it's in the right place.
At 23.
Yeah, no, well,
How
that's
about
right.
that? Helped by the last
Yeah.
11.
Makes being worthwhile being here. Ah, dear.
If you like, you could go and sort those back into the blues, the Wesley one, and there's a couple of other ones, so you get familiar with the
Yeah,
things.
that'd be cool.
Sounds of children. Fun.
Yes.
I wonder if we'll get our usual Saturday mornings. This is what's her name?
Mrs. Torreville, yes.
And Walsh, she often comes.
And There's another lady, Annie something. I bumped into her down the mall one day, and I didn't actually bump into her. I was walking this way, and she was walking that way, and she was looking at me, and I knew she didn't know who I was. She sort of knew my face.
Oh, but doesn't that happen all the time?
And as we crossed, I said, "Hello, Annie," and she stopped and she said, "I know your face, and you know my name." I said, "Marcy," and they're like, "Oh, the library." Oh, she said,
I
"Oh,
went and met one over here this morning. I got off that side of the road and I was just walking down there, and this woman, she said, "You're from the Balgowlie United Church?" And I said, "Yeah, the school for seniors." And she said, she was from there, and I'm thinking, God, what are you doing there? Anyway, her name was Anne, and I told her my name was Barbara, and she was involved in the car with her. And she does painting there. She said she doesn't actually paint there, she sketches because she gets paint all over her when she paints. But you know, the face was, to me, wasn't that familiar, but she obviously has seen me there.
Well, you know, I've noticed that in the olden days, I always shopped down at the Toad from the day it opened.
Oh, yes, yes.
How many years ago that was. And over the years, you know, I'd see the same people over and over. And then when it was all being renovated, people disappeared. And then when it was all finished, and they came back, and I'd see some of the people going that way, you know, their face. Well, I suppose they're thinking the same thing about me.
And I said to somebody the other day, when it was the old Toad, it was a bit grotty, but it was very friendly.
Yes.
It was sort of, whereas now it's business.
You don't see.
Different.
Well,
Yeah.
I might sometimes see, occasionally I'll see someone I know.
But we used to,
not
after the
used to
school
be.
for seniors, when we finished for the day, we used to go there and have a coffee. Nobody ever thinks of it now. We used to sit there, and it was, and I used to feel sorry for the people working in the supermarkets there because it was hot and there was no air conditioning. But we quite liked it. I like it now because it's very clean.
Yeah. Oh, it's very modern. But I look at the people, at different type of people.
Oh, yeah, different people.
They're younger, a lot of younger people.
Well, I think that's what's happened to the area. You know,
Well,
it's a lot of younger.
Yeah, and I think,
Oh.
how can they afford it?
Has Margaret moved in?
Oh, yes, she moved. Yeah, she moved. And she moved on the 20th, and she went away on the 21st. The next day, down to Barrel or somewhere with the legacy widows. And she came back on Thursday. She rang up on Thursday and said, "I'm back." And she might come in this morning. If she, depends.
So she really hasn't been there very long yet.
She's only slept there a couple of nights. Like she slept there the first night on the 20th, and then Thursday night and Friday night. So, and then she rang when she rang on Thursday. Yeah, okay, yeah, good now.
Only good now.
Very good now.
Very good now.
Yes, that's great. Yeah.
Great to hear.
Well, it's good to hear.
Good. But you two never change.
That's good to hear too.
Always look good.
I wish that was the truth.
Don't just spell the myth.
Right.
Where's my glasses? I want to see what I'm doing.
So yes, it gets later.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Yes, there were. And
Even
there's a yard.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
Sorry, we have to disturb you again.
We've got various ones. We can always put them back.
Yeah.
That's a puzzle for you now. Because there's a lot of them. They really go through. We'll come back in the Christmas is a show on the history of the United States.
So we won't go down on those.
Put them out here. We'll take them out.
Australia's birds.
You can put that extra those kids if you like. Just on there somewhere.
Along here?
Yes, yes. You'll see ones that look a bit similar, so I don't think there's any there for the special.
I just put them anywhere. When the leader comes in on Monday, she talks.
Well, if it was somebody that I know who's got it like Dr. Seuss, but those are just sometimes I would think of their animal ones, and this is an animal one, so I would think they're
30 secrets about Asian jars.
Yeah, well,
have a look at it. And that one can go over and review releases over there.
from 10:30, it might get busy.
Reckon?
Usually, when it's a bad weather day, that many people. We were just saying, you know, last week when, Monday last week when that really bad day, Eva, who comes in on a Monday, I was supposed to be here too, but I didn't come. And she said 9 books went out. 9.
For the whole lot.
And so that would be like 2 people.
But you wouldn't expect, you know, if it's pouring with rain, who's going to come out? You know,
Oh,
you've got to be desperate for a book, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, it was really bad that day with the flooding. The Wakers Parkway was closed and down.
Connemara Street had problems.
I was just going to say down near the golf course down there. I didn't go out, but everybody was telling me. Errol, my daughter, she's out on the road every day, and she said it was a nightmare trying to get around. And then down at the community centre down near where the RTA,
Yeah.
yes, that was flooded.
So many people without electricity. I think most of them had power, but then had lights. Did your house get affected?
We had a little blackout.
Yeah.
But they lost black clouds.
Yeah, that's not so bad. But some of them, the lady who does the coffee shop at Dewar Gardens, hers was out for over 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a man the
But I
other
think she
day.
had power, which is good, because then your fridge,
Yeah, so
your food doesn't all go off.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was talking to a man the other day who was fixing my car, and he lived in Newport, and he said they'd been out for a couple of days, but luckily they had gas, so they could cook.
Oh, good.
But, so, no, I've got a feeling that from Fairlight and around where we are, where we used to be, somebody told me once that we're on the same landline as the main hospital,
Oh, right.
and that's why we never get a blackout.
I used to have a few in Belgium.
No.
Not terribly often, but I did have some.
Well, getting back talking about the flooded creek the other day, last week when it was so bad, and I spoke to my neighbours and we all said, well, luckily we didn't take that higher insurance because this was a 100-year flood, 100-year rain storms, and the creek didn't come anywhere near, didn't come up to our backyards. I live near the creek, you know, the creek that comes down. So, no, it was, I kept looking out and I could see the freeway, you know, the deviation, and they've got, they must have drains underneath, and from my upstairs window, I could see it coming out under the road and it coming down into the creek. But the creek was rushing like a torrent, but it didn't come anywhere near the road. So I said that to my neighbours. Well, luckily we didn't pay $10,000 for our house insurance because it would have been a waste of money. Because they said this was a 100-year storm. Anyway.
I'm even thinking about not having contents insurance anymore. Because I can't see if there was a fire and everything got burnt. I'd buy just basics now. I wouldn't buy a whole lot of stuff anyway.
No, well,
And I don't know. I paid for it in March, so I've got it for another year. But I know it's kept breaking and stealing everything because none of it's new.
well, the same
Nobody
as me.
wants it. You know, they don't want my furniture. They don't want television sets because they're pretty cheap now.
Yeah. Well, every time I pay mine, they want me to take it up, and I said, no, I'm not taking it. I haven't got a lot of technology.
No.
Well, Errol has, but I haven't.
No.
So,
Well, it's unlikely to happen. When I had a house, and I'm living in a unit now, but when I had a house, it was a bit different because the whole house would burn down, I suppose, but I don't think it's going to happen.
well, that night, that weekend that we had that really bad storm, that Monday night, that was the night my kitchen light was off, but that wasn't finding income. I said, oh, I've been here before, and I said, yeah, it's the same problem. So I was just hoping that it would get rewired. But anyway, that night, the first night that we had no lights, I woke up. I thought I was dreaming, and I could hear beep, beep, beep. Oh, there's a truck. No, I thought, I was dreaming. It was a truck reversing, and 3 times I heard it, and then I woke up, and I thought, that's not a truck reversing, that's my smoke alarm. Well, imagine I popped up and I was thinking, but it wasn't sort of going beep beep like they usually do. It was going beep. So I climbed up on the stairs, and in my dining room there's a staircase, and I can climb up to the top of the stairs, and I just have to reach through. And so I took it out. And then, yes, that's what Errol said. And then right upstairs on the top floor, that one wasn't beeping. But anyway, I got back into bed and I thought, there's no light in the kitchen and the alarm's going off. Oh, it must be an electrical fault. Well, I couldn't go back to sleep. And I went in, tapped on her door, and this is my daughter, she lives with me. And I said, did you hear that beeping? And she said, yes, it's a smoke alarm, go back to sleep. And I said, oh, I'm worried there's going to be
The younger you are, the less you're
we
worried.
might have a fire. She said, is there any smoke? And I said, no. Can you smell anything burning? I said, no. She said, well, Mum, go back to bed. I couldn't sleep. Anyway, that's when I was worried in the morning. But it wasn't that at all. But I just thought it was a coincidence that was going on. Anyway, when the electrician came, and I told him about them beeping, and he said, when did you change them last? And I said, oh, probably 12 months ago. So when he took them out and had a look, they were November 13. He said, you've luckily got nearly 6 months more than what you should have. So I bought new batteries anyway, so he put them in for me.
I think I'm lucky. I think mine is on the electricity.
Yeah, well, when I was in my big house, mine was in the electricity. You never had to worry. But see, this place is old. Still, anyway, let's hope the rain's all gone.
Well, I don't know.
Going?
They said today and tomorrow and everything. But nothing we can do about it.
No.
Except complain.
So, Isaac, you're going to come every Saturday?
Oh yes, every Saturday.
As long as you can.
Yeah.
So every Saturday there's different people here. So we won't be here next Saturday. I don't know who it'll be, probably
Is it Shirley or?
like Shirley and Carol. I'm never sure. Because then the opposite
We
week-
do alternate ones.
Yeah, the opposite. Some of them only do once a month. We do it a fortnight. But sometimes it's Shirley and Carol. And then the next week it's Ann Taylor and Val Penny. So every time you come, I meet all these old ladies.
You'll be meeting all these people.
Elm Street.
Then in a fortnight we'll be back again.
And if you noticed when you came in, there's books for